Voila. Okay. I don't know why I jump every time I hear that recording in progress, but today I'm kind of excited because I want to title this one, Build a Better Upward Bow Pose. So upward bow, which is sometimes called full wheel, which it shouldn't be because wheel is a completely different pose altogether in yoga. So, and then in gymnastics, it's known as bridge pose. But yeah, supplies and things that you'll need. I don't think we'll need anything. It's always nice to have your folded blankets and your blocks and that kind of thing set up. And also just to know ahead of time, the back bending that we'll do today is like in yogic terms, isn't really considered back bending. It's considered heart opening. So you're not really in a back bend unless you're like doubled over 3-4 times kind of thing in yoga, which is kind of contortion. So when we think about heart opening, not kidding, it might sound hooey, but it really does help if you are feeling open in your heart. Like, it just sounds so cheesy when I say it out loud, but if you're feeling like spiteful or that kind of thing, which I'm just gonna go off on a small tangent. Sometimes when I feel angry about life for whatever reason, my life is really good. I have not much to complain about, but sometimes, you have a bad day. For me, I like to vent with exercise. So I used to do that with yoga, and I hurt myself doing so. So now if I feel like I need to vent, and that's my purpose for exercising, I will go for a run or something like that, where there's not such precision alignment involved. Back bending, it's nice to feel like, allow yourself to feel a little bit vulnerable, strong, but a little bit vulnerable. And we do that by knowing that your mat is your safe place. That so for me right over there, that is the place where I'm allowed to be open and express myself and try things, of course, in a safe manner, but that's my place to open up and let things happen. So without further ado, we'll head into child's pose or whatever position you like to do your centering in. So taking those first few moments to get all settled in. Big toes together, knees either together or slightly apart, or of course, an alternative pose to feel quiet and grounded. And of course, today, open to the possibility of learning and growing in your upward facing bow pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Open to the possibility that it might not happen today, and knowing that that's okay. And then taking a few slow, deep breaths through the nose. And then slowly make your way all the way to a comfortable seated position. So we'll start a little bit differently than I like to start usually. Now, a seated position can be Sukhasana, easy pose, which is cross-legged. I like Virasana, hero pose. Sometimes it's nice to do the opposite of what feels right for you in order to do like a counter stretch or improve range of motion. But for this first one, just whatever feels comfortable. It's kind of like you just want to fold your legs away so that we're focusing on upper body. And we'll begin with a few head rolls. So chin goes down, moves over to the right and back and over to the left. And again, to the side back, side, and down. Heading into number 3. 4. And 5. And then we'll switch directions for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then floating the head to neutral. And then we'll head into some arm circles. I'm going to flip my legs over to cross-legged. This means I'm getting serious about my arm circles. So leaning over to the left, right arm extends out, circling back, all the way over and around. Again, out, back, all the way over and around. Again, and smoothing out the circle each time. And again, see if you can make a slightly bigger circle. And one last one. And just noticing, is that circle a little smoother? Maybe it started super smooth. Mine always starts out feeling more like an octagon. And scoop the belly in, heading back up to neutral. For the other side, leaning over to the right, left arm extends out and back, all the way over and around. Again, out and back, all the way over and around. Number 3, seeing if you can go a little bit bigger with the circle. And 4, still nice and slow. And last one, nice big circle. And floating the body to neutral. And we'll get moving a little bit. So heading into our first downward facing dog, getting those hands nice and set up, tucking the toes under, hips go up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose, maybe walking it out a little bit. I like to do that walk the dog maneuver. And while I'm doing that, I try to target everything in the backs of my legs. So while my toes are bent and the heels are up, and I slowly press the heel down, I feel the Achilles. As I press the heel down, I feel the calves. And then if I straighten both legs, I can feel the hamstrings. So especially that first one, just those organic movements to feel the full length of the legs, stretching at some point. And then we'll send the feet forward all the way to the top of your mat, landing in a forward fold. So feet are parallel, let the head hang.
decompressing the spine. So starting to think about the back and each vertebra. Even finding some space between each vertebra. And then slowly ragdoll all the way up. So you can sort of feel one vertebra stacking on top of the other, seeing if we can articulate each and every one of those vertebrae as we come on all the way up to standing. And we'll get moving with some sun salutations. So here we go, starting in Tadasana mountain pose, lifting up nice and tall. On an inhale, raise the arms up. And exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, plant the hands, send the feet back, and lowering chaturanga. Inhaling for cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Few deep breaths. So for our upward facing dog pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana, sun salutations helps for a few different reasons. One, it just warms up the body. The second reason why it helps is because of the cobra or up dog that we're doing. And the third reason is the strength in the arms that our chaturanga is helping with. And then we'll send the feet forward all the way to the top, looking up for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, all the way up, reaching up high. And exhale to a tall mountain. Number 2, inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, plant the hands, send the feet back, and lower. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Slow, deep breathing. Lots of space for the neck. So shoulders away from the ears. And send the feet forward, all the way into flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, all the way up, reaching up high. And exhale to a tall mountain. Last one. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, plant the hands, send the feet back, and lower. Inhale, up. And exhale, downward facing dog. Few deep breaths. And from here, instead of finishing up that sun salutation,
We'll glide forward to plank, gently lower the knees to the mat, and then we'll head into a few push-ups. So nice wide stance for the arms. If you're really quite strong, you can keep the legs straight for like the full push-up position. I'm going to go ahead and modify because that's where I'm at today. So belly scoops in, nice wide arms. And then I've got a little timer on. We're just going to see how many we can do. Not that it's a race or anything, but we're going to lower and let the elbows move out to the sides. So this isn't a chaturanga type push-up. It's just a regular old push-up. And just go at your own pace. We go up, we go down. Keep going. Some of the things to think about, try to make it more of a core strengthener than an arm strengthener, even though it is. There's no real tricking your body, but what I mean is focus on the core. Try to get those abdominal muscles going as well. Try to keep equal weight on each hand, and not only equal weight on each hand, but even distribution of the weight in the palms. So what the heck does that mean? That means we tend to lift up the thumbs and place more weight to the outside of the palms, like towards the pinky fingers. So try to avoid that. And we can do that by thinking about pressing into the roots of the index fingers or the top insides of the palms. If you think of your palms as like kind of square shaped a little bit, the top inside corner is where we want to place a lot of that weight. If I didn't mention it already, you're allowed to take breaks. You can even head back into child's pose for a few moments and then come back in when you can. We're almost done though. So it doesn't have to be tons. You can go super duper slow, or you can look like a hummingbird, whatever you prefer today. Almost done. And we'll head back into child's pose. That was a 2-minute timer. I often do that with conditioning exercises. I just put the timer on and do as many as I can. And it doesn't really matter if I need to take breaks or not. That's just how long I'm doing that exercise for. That's a great way to build strength. That child's pose feels really nice after that. You'll almost go for a wee Saturday morning nap right there. So now that we've warmed up the arms, hopefully, we will stretch them, starting with, let's stretch the shoulders first. So puppy dog pose is on hands and knees. I like to go towards the back of my mat. And then keep the hips where they are, but move the hands forward. And then reach the forehead towards the floor. If the forehead reaches, no problem, and your neck is nice and healthy, reach the chin towards the floor. We're trying to feel a stretch in the shoulders and keep the neck nice and square. If that doesn't stretch, first of all, if it does, hold there, take little breaks when you need. And if that doesn't stretch, you can move towards a wall. I don't know how you can see me here. Yes. Okay. So at the wall, it's basically down dog at the wall. So we step back and we're trying to reach the heart towards the wall. So same thing, just feeling a nice stretch, not overdoing it though. We really, really need to be gentle with this. The name of the game is slow and steady. Better to do this specific sequence multiple times rather than trying to get all of the stretching in once. It's not as much fun trying to force things either. But just a little bit longer. We're not here as long. And then slowly coming back up. So I called that last one puppy dog pose. It's otherwise known as Heart Chakra pose, or Anahitasana is the name in the lovely language of Sanskrit. More arm stretching. So we'll head into my favorite arm stretch. We won't hold it as long as I like to, but that's okay. So I like having a blanket to lay on. And then it's basically this stretch, but we're lying down. So we'll lie down and place the right arm beneath you. And we're going to lie right on the arm. So heading back, right arm goes beneath. I start my timer, not the long timer, just the 2-minute one. This one's lovely to hold for 3 minutes, but just getting a little arm stretching going. You should feel this on the outside of the shoulder. And just relax. And we're at the halfway point-ish, so just melting into it. See if your body allows you a little more space. If so, relaxing into it, allowing a little more body weight. Be really careful. And then slowly, slowly switching sides. I just love this one. Okay, here we go. I usually talk a lot during yoga. The 2 times I don't say very much is when the pose feels so nice. I just want to melt into it and take a little nap. Or the opposite, when it's really challenging. Then I don't say too much. And that's about our halfway point. So melting into it a little bit more if available. If not, hold steady and breathe. And then slowly, slowly take your time. My shoulders need a couple seconds before I press up. to seated, but that's where we're headed. And then we'll work on Gomukhasana arms. So cow face arms. So with the legs, just put them in a comfortable position. For some of you, it might actually be Gomukhasana. That's not a comfy pose for me. I like Thunderbolt, where I'm just sitting back onto my heels, because Gomukhasana arms takes all of my concentration. So we'll start with just half. So right arm goes up, sending it back, and then take the left elbow, or the left elbow, this thing, hand, and draw the elbow back. So hand to the elbow. And I don't know if you can see me, I'm like hunching forward. So we want to kind of not do that, but I'm just not that flexible. So we'll try to not arch the back and lift up the head, but only as much as is available, okay? So taking just a few moments here. There's only one way to get more flexible, and that's just to practice this one more. Sigh. And then we'll release and head into the other side. So left elbow goes up, right hand, drawing the elbow back to feel a nice stretch. And the word nice is relative here. Breathing through it. Try not to make a scrunchy face. And focusing on the length of the muscle. So that, I don't know what the science is behind that, but visualizing the muscles super healthy, hydrated muscle lengthening. If you can somehow place like an animated version of something like that in your mind's eye, it actually works. Slow, deep breathing. And slowly, slowly release, taking a moment. And now for the fun part, right hand behind the back. So the bottom part of Gomukhasana arms. And I'll also show you, actually, let's see if you can see, you might not be able to see, but right from the get-go, when I try to place my hand behind my back, I don't know if you can see, but my scapula is winging, like it's like the chicken bone there is flaring outward. That's because of a couple of reasons. One, it's because you can see my shoulder is slouching. So what we want to do is draw the shoulder and elbow back, but we also want to place that back of the hand as far up the back as available, like eventually right between the shoulder blades, and you can kind of shift and scooch. But I actually can feel my top of my arm bone in the shoulder socket, and it pinches a little bit unless I draw it back. So the winging of the scapula is two things. One, flexibility, and two, strength. So you need strong back muscles to keep that scapula flat against the back. So that's for another class though. So holding here, just one arm. If you have a strap, that's sometimes nice to do. You can kind of guide the hand upward. Or if you can reach the left hand to the elbow and you can sort of gently move too. You can sort of see my fingers, trying to get them up as high as available. And breathe. Breathing is good. Holding and breathing. The elbow draws backward, as does the shoulder. Few big, deep breaths here. And then slowly, slowly release. And then for me, because my shoulders are quite tight, it takes a moment afterwards to feel right again. And then other side. So left arm behind the back, same thing. So you can sort of scooch it up. Maybe the other arm can help using a strap or guiding the elbow. And then draw the elbow and shoulder back, 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 so that the arm bone is in the shoulder socket correctly. Few deep breaths. And then slowly, slowly release. Same thing again. Come on, shoulder. Taking a second. That really is a doozy for Carla. So now we'll do the full Gomukhasana arms. And the right arm goes up, sending it back. Left arm goes back, sending it up. Trying to find those fingers behind you. Maybe you find them, maybe you don't. Either way, elbows and shoulders draw back, holding just for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Other side. Left arm up, sending it back. Right arm back, sending it up. Finding those fingers, or maybe not, drawing the elbows and shoulders back for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly release. From here, heading into stretches I do like. So heading into gecko, or I think it's maybe sometimes called lizard. I don't know. I call it gecko. And we start with the right foot forward. I actually like a block. I have like a very specific method that I use, and you can use your own little tricks and things. They don't have to be the same as mine. So I like something squishy underneath my back knee. And then I like to use a block just to help me. You don't need one though. You can lean forward. And if this is enough of a stretch, hang out here. We're stretching here specifically. Maybe you need to be up more. Either way, if you want to go further, we pop the back toes off the floor. Find those toes. Be careful, because if you really try to bend that back leg, the hamstrings muscles will cramp. So the best bet is to lean back. And if you don't catch the toes right away, let them go. Or a strap, but just be really cautious because it is a really intense pose. So you can use opposite arm, or if you're a little bit more flexible, you might want to switch arms to get more of a bend. And we're here just for a minute. Few deep breaths. When we do back bending, what we are trying to do is stretch the entire front body. So including the shoulders, which we already did, and the belly, of course, which we did in our sun salutations with our cobras, and then the front of the hips, which we're doing now, and the front of the legs, which we're also doing now. So this is a bit of a multitasker. If we just are in a lunge, then we're just stretching the hip part, the hip flexor. And if we bend the back leg like we're doing now in gecko, then we're also getting the quadriceps. Last few moments, big deep breath. And slowly, slowly, switching sides. I'm going to move my squishy thing beneath the opposite knee. And same thing again, same cautions apply. Nice and slow. Whenever you're ready, heading in. So again, this one's fairly intense, so don't push too far. You want to be even extra cautious with this one. Allow the muscles to lengthen. So again, visualizing almost like a 3D animation in your mind's eye, super healthy muscles, lengthening nice and slow. And slowly, slowly release. One more round, because this one is so helpful with back bending. And it also relieves the pressure from the back as well. So whenever you're ready, hopping in. Oh, my hip needs to crack. All right. Finding those toes. And the stretch is, of course, super helpful for many other poses too, including the splits. Slow, deep breathing. And slowly, slowly release. And other side. Finding those toes. Last few moments here. Noticing how much more open it feels the second round. And slowly, slowly release. Just take a moment. Our next pose up will be either Sphinx or Cobra if your back is a little more flexible. So we're actually going to stretch the back. And we'll give you an alternative if Cobra doesn't stretch either. So first of all, heading into Sphinx, if that's enough of a stretch for you. So forearms on the floor, and we're trying to not just bend in the low back, but the mid back. So the sternum reaches forward, forward, forward. If that's not enough of a stretch, you can press up. And if that's not enough of a stretch, you can have the hands beside you and pressing up to Cobra. And then I like to add a little bit of height too. So sometimes that's helpful. Either way, 2-minute timer. Coming out if you need to, of course, early. Oops, I'm sitting on my microphone there. All right, so sternum melts forward and holding. It's a bit of an arm strengthener too. But trying to relax everything that doesn't need to be working right now. So relaxing the mid back, the neck, and the low back. Breathing as deeply as available here, and you'll notice it's a little bit decreased capacity for that full inhale. And that's because we're kind of squishing the diaphragm a little bit, and that's okay. It's a good thing. Almost done. When we come out, try to use the back muscles, whether you're in Cobra or Sphinx, almost like your arms are slowly letting go of the weight and your back is trying to take it, like your back is like, no, I want to stay. I want to stay here. And you can feel the back muscles working as you slowly, 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 slowly release. And then passing up and back to child's pose. So nice and slow, 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 slow. Take your time. Just a few breaths here. And then we'll make our way onto our backs for our peak pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing bow pose. So laying back, and if you're just like, no, I don't feel comfortable trying this, then as always, use bridge pose instead, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. Otherwise, laying all the way back, remembering to do what's right for you. And if this one is almost accessible, but a little bit challenging, step the feet apart a little bit wider. Hands beneath the shoulders, not the neck. So make sure you've got lots of space there. And then elbows pointing up. Big inhale on the floor. Exhale on the floor. On your inhale, pressing up to the top of the head. Pausing for a moment. Iyengar says 2 deep breaths. 1, 2. And on an inhale, pressing the arms straight. And we hold. And to come out, we lower to the top of the head. Pause. And then we lower all the way down. And then hug the knees in. Little rock side to side. And we'll repeat that one. So if you're like, nope, I used my very last bit of strength there, then it's wise for you to, for the second round, do bridge pose. Either way, preparing for whichever variation works for you today. If you're doing Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing bow, place the hands beneath the shoulders, not the neck. And inhale on the floor. Exhale on the floor. Inhale to the top of the head. Pause for 2 deep breaths.
1 and 2. On an inhale, pressing up and hold. When we come out, we lower to the head. 2 deep breaths for 1, 2. And slowly come on out, hugging the knees in. Little rock from side to side. And then we're all done the hard part. We head into twisted roots or whatever twist you prefer. So for twisted roots, right leg crosses all the way over left. Hips do a lift and scooch to the right, and the knees lower to the left, looking over the right fingertips. Both shoulders firmly on the floor. This is a really nice stretch after a big heart opener. And scoop the belly in. Press the low back into the floor. And squaring everything up. Ready for the other side. So same variation as the first side, either twisted roots or, of course, there's the one leg option or the 2 leg option. And scoop the belly in. Press the low back into the floor. Squaring everything up. And then hugging your knees in for Apanasana. Extra tight squeeze. Maybe a little rock side to side. And preparing for Shavasana, final resting pose. So as always, if your back needs a little extra support today, feel free to keep the knees bent with the feet on the floor. Otherwise, extending the arms and the legs, palms facing up, and closing the eyes. Relaxing everything, but especially through the neck and the shoulders, and all the way down the arms, letting the fingers softly curl.
Softening through the face. Softening around the eyes. And even the muscle between the eyes. Just letting it all go. And starting to come back. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. And gently roll your head from side to side. And reaching your arms above head on the floor for a big stretch, feeling totally refreshed. And bending your knees in one at a time. And gently roll over to the right side, pausing there for just a moment as you come back. And slowly press yourself all the way up to a comfortable seated position, taking all the time you need. And when you arrive, palms facing up on the knees, inhale, sitting up tall, exhale, closing the eyes, and taking those final moments to thank yourself for showing up to your practice today and taking care of you. And slowly open the eyes. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so, so much for joining me. Have a really good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.